nostalgia. It has been a good while since I've gotten a chance to actually record anything. Well, inactivity begins again. The activity begins again here. The inactivity on YouTube is finally coming to an end. For now. I've been promising a new video for a while, and this is my first one in a long time. So, to be honest, I had one idea that completely bombed. I intended to make a video about the murder drones community. I intended to do that right before I ended up leaving for a bit. This failed. Stupid camera failed to record the full thing. And frankly, I just got frustrated and couldn't edit it all. I had to start over, and I couldn't do that in time. However, this video isn't about that. It's about something special. Something that's pretty important to me. This video is dedicated to cataloging all of the big events and calamities in a server owned by the YouTuber, your local YouTuber. Which, if you haven't seen him, then please actually do that. And please go subscribe to his channel. It's a great server. I should warn you that this video, I don't know if I'll be able to fit the full thing into one video or if it'll need to be a series of catalogs, but I should go ahead and give a warning that some of it is really dark or sad. A lot of bad things have happened. There's been a lot of chaos. This is an important catalog that I've been planning for a long time, and that I've even told local about a few times. And it's about time I get to it. Albeit, I'm going to put a trigger warning here for anyone who gets triggered easily for suicide, because that is quite a common topic in the server. Don't want to scare anyone off from it. The server itself is good, but some of the people in it go through some hard times. There's going to be a sudden cut here, and I'll continue it. Well, I really don't have much time here to continue with this one. There'll be yet another sudden cut soon, but I just needed to check there about the audio. And it's clear that I was not talking loud enough there. I'm going to see how this one works, and I'll have to record more of this later, but to start it off, we have to go back to the very beginning of the server, because this catalog focuses a lot on disaster, and to truly encapsulate that, we have to look back to the very first day, the very first few hours of the server. Local server has been chaotic from day one. still remember those old days. Back then, far before I was a staff member on there, far before even Cricket was a staff member there, there was a lot of heated discussion back then because Local had made some questioning calls, some questionable calls. At the time, he had basically banned Cricket for making a joke about autism aimed specifically at himself. It wasn't disrespectful to autistic people as a whole, but at the time, Local banned him for that, which led to a giant riot in the server, demanding that Cricket be brought back, myself included. That situation was resolved pretty quickly because Local just wanted to take care of the server at the time. But things quickly devolved as time went on. Well, back to video after that sudden cut. I should clarify one thing before I continue. This is about everything that's happened in the server, but for this catalog to work, I can only really say what I know about everything and from my experience there. Everything that I say is from my perspective of what happened and just what's generally accepted. There are a lot of different people that have done a lot of things to fix these problems, but I'll specifically be giving my perspective on how it all happened. Anyway, the very first day of Local server, there was not much order. Local had only given a select few people moderator and admin privileges in the server, and even then they did not have as much power as you'd expect, or as much would be required for a server. On the contrary, at the time, they had only had we didn't even have ban perms. They could kick people, but kicking is pretty useless. So, as you can probably guess, that was very quickly exploited. Within the first day, countless raiders with countless alts invaded the server. They were posting a lot of NSFW, Axel and Harlem videos, Newsy, aka NX Uzi, NSFW. They were doing a lot of things. The staff could not do anything. They could only kick them, which was not working. They kept coming back, over and over and over. Eventually everyone started having a meltdown. Half the server, including myself, was infuriated by how annoying they were and just kept cursing them out. Of course, the staff also got frustrated because they couldn't do anything to stop the trolls, the raiders. And eventually, Cricket had to basically give a large speech and try to figure out how to work the way around this and how to amend the rules and staff positions to better fit and keep something like this from getting out of hand again. At the time, it was pointless because Local still wasn't online to do anything or listen to his requests. But eventually it did work. In this case, however, the raiders kept going for hours. We couldn't stop them. And eventually, the raiders no one was stopping them. They just got so bored about not being banned yet that they gave up. I believe one of them even expressed pity that no one was even able to do anything about it. This is the first calamity of the server. Keep in mind, back when I came up with this idea for this video, when I first started talking about it in Local server, thought I was going to make this video, there were only 3 when I came up with it. I called them the 3 calamities. Now, there's well over 8. This is going to be a long video. Anyway, afterwards, there was a large rally where new moderators were chosen. The staff positions were increased according to Cricket's requests, and Cricket was chosen as a co-owner to manage the server and keep track of everything for Local, who admittedly wasn't very experienced with running a Discord server. That's nothing negative about Local, obviously. I feel like people on YouTube, no matter how small the community watching a video is, will hate on someone for absolutely no reason. Local really has been doing what's best for the server at every turn he can. He just isn't really used to managing a server, which is why there are co-owners. Everyone needs help to manage something. Anyway, Cricket was hired there as the co-owner and is doing a pretty good job at managing the place. There was also a little drama about one person having an NSFW profile picture, and it eventually escalated because they refused to replace it and got them banned. They were just called serial designation in, and let's just say this is not the last time we're going to be talking about him. I am going to admit he is going to be brought up again later, but he was banned for it and sent to it, and he kept complaining about it to Local on YouTube, but never really got a response. But after the situation, to be honest, I kind of left the server for a while. I became inactive. This is a personal thing that may seem a little petty, but I kind of left because at the time I disliked one of the moderators. It was basically someone who spent the entire raid making fun of the current staff and being a neutral party. And I disliked that they became a moderator at the time when they tried to be neutral during a raid. But whatever. I know it's petty, and my view has changed of everything, but hey, it's a modern day now. At the time, that made me leave for a bit, but at the time there was also trial moderator applications. I put mine own in, and whenever it was time to choose the next trial mods, I was one that was selected. It was a pretty big deal for me to be able to help the server, and since there was a lot of work to do, I pretty quickly jumped on it and had already accumulated a large amount of warns and bans for people breaking a lot of the rules. There were a bunch of other staff members at the time and trial moderators, such as the Spanish moderator, Coulson, or Joseph. Some guy just named yes. A funny guy, Eyes, and Janix07. This calamity is PTSD inducing somewhere around here. It was horrible. During the trial moderator period, there were a lot of good moderators, but it was really not that balanced. There were only 2 that were selected to become actual moderators, and there was a vote for 1, but at the time it had already been decided that no need to vote. I was guaranteed one of the trial mods who would be promoted. The main competition between everyone was to be the second one, the one that could amass more votes. People tried to do enough work and be recognized enough for that, but there was one person who took it too far. The trial moderator, Janix07. I hate Janix in every possible way. Janix, he was frustrating. In the moderator exclusive group chat, not group chat, the channel on the server, there's a exclusive moderator channel on the server, and in it, even during the trial mod period, he was just absolutely harassing half the staff, talking about how trial mods are useless because how most trial mods are useless because they're asking what to do. Even though obviously trial mods should ask questions if they aren't sure what to do, because just how it works. Sometimes people have superiors that they should really try to listen to because that gives you a better understanding of what to do. And he just kept complaining about people asking, especially me, because I was still just trying to do the job the best I could at the time. Which I should clarify, I honestly did not expect to make it at all. I didn't expect to make it in a landslide, and I did not expect to make it at all. I just kind of was trying to do as much work as possible before getting demoted, but luckily I made it. However, Janix, he continued doing horrible stuff like this. He also was very condescending and pretentious, insulting other moderators, calling people stupid for no reason, and which also, yes, was applying to a literal full moderator who's been staffing the server since the beginning. Anyway, he even talked about wanting to ban people for their jokes not being funny, and tended to post a lot of racist images and a lot of racist things, such as calling all Arabians terrorists. Yeah, I don't think I need to say any more about how much he sucks. But at the end, he was going to be demoted early because he was already on the lower end of the trial moderators. And believe it or not, being racist doesn't exactly slide. Yeah. He also posted an SFW, which made it even more clear he had to be gone. But the problem is, at the time, no one with the permission to actually demote him was online. Which led to a bad situation. You see, Janix was just petty. I know I said I was petty earlier, but it's 10 times worse. He decided that if he wasn't going to be an admin anymore and there was a chance of him being banned, then he'd ban everyone else with him. Of course, he couldn't ban or demote staff members because he was just a trial mod like me. But he went on a banning spree on the server and banned 400 plus people. We had no idea he was doing that till far afterwards, where someone complained about their friend no longer being in the server and asking if they got banned for something. It is frustrating. Eventually, we noticed, and Janix fled the server to avoid being banned so that he could later return. But, and I'm just gonna say it, don't worry, that's not a TENS thing. It came back and immediately got banned. But, after that, there was like 3 or 4 people, me, Logitix, and Archangel Louie, who were unbanning the rest of the people banned unfairly. I don't know how many they banned. I know I unbanned at least 173 people manually that day. It was a little annoying, but afterwards, we held a staff meeting in a voice chat where I discussed my plans to give the system an overhaul and fix some of the glaring issues, such as adjusting to the horribly different time zones each staff member lives in, and better connecting the staff so they can communicate easier and therefore easily reach out when there are big problems. See, the time zones were pretty skewed back then. Most of them were active in regions like Britain or France or Asia, and really anywhere in Asia, but thing that led to a problem where no one was active. There were no staff members in the American time zone areas. I was one of the only ones in my time zone, and I was only a trial moderator, so I couldn't do much. I set out to overhaul the system and allow easier communication between other staff members, therefore making the whole thing easier to reach out. I'm just going to check that the camera's still recording because I don't know how long I've been talking, and it shuts off every 30 minutes if I don't stop it and restart it. Sorry if this stops here. Let me check. Alright. Sorry there. The camera is inconvenient. It was down to 20 minutes, so I went ahead and turned it off and back on, so it can record a little bit longer. But anyway, after Janix banned everyone, he fled the server, and we had this meeting. At the time, I was incredibly frustrated beyond words, and just kept talking to people in DMs while shouting about how much... Wait, did I say in DMs? I talked about how to fix the server in a voice chat, and yeah, in a voice chat and a voice channel, I explained my ideas to how to fix this server. I suggested we promote withPink to co-owner. I suggested to promote him to admin, but he got promoted to co-owner at the time. And I was the main person explaining my opinions on what to do with the server and how to fix everything after what happened. And in the end, I managed to convince everyone. I got permission to message local about things. I spoke through more with Cricket and a few people who later became staff members, and everything started looking up. This is also around the time, shortly later, I became a moderator. I was officially in the position to do stuff and help the server, which I did not expect. But disaster struck yet again. Well, I'm sorry if I'm skipping over anything. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say before I get to the next disaster, but whatever. Anyway, it's on to the Lodge Ticks calamity. You remember how I said that Lodge Ticks should be promoted to admin to balance out the time zones, and that he actually got promoted all the way to co-owner? Someone did some random ARG within 2 days of that. However, you may be wondering, what does that have to do with Lodge Ticks and the disaster? One simple thing. Inspiration. The ARG inspired Lodge Ticks to do an ARG of his own. He created this alt account. He created a bunch of alt accounts and this special role called Fun in Zalgo font. And with this alt, quickly amassed power on the server because he immediately gave it that role, which has co-owner permissions. With this alt, he very quickly ended up making everyone in the server afraid of being banned or the server being deleted, because while it was just a little ARG, as far as we were concerned, it seemed like a hacker or someone who somehow had been able to otherwise break into the server, and it just kept causing problems. Everyone, including me, was worried. We were speaking in DMs about how to fix it, and every time we tried to ping other staff members to see what people could do, no one was responding or active, even if they were online. So I did a little digging. I decided that if they had a role called Fun, which obviously didn't exist before, then someone in the server had to have made it. So I looked a little deeper. Lodge Ticks had insisted that he couldn't ban that one and just didn't respond. However, when I searched through the audit logs, I interestingly saw that Lodge Ticks was the only one that Lodge Ticks created that role and gave it to the alt. Before I continue, I'm going to say that while it got out of hand, this was all just a game planned out, an ARG. Do not harass Lodge Ticks over this. Personally, he's a friend of mine. I do not condone any form of harassment, except against Janix. That's okay. But, Lodge Ticks is not bad at all. He recently became a staff member again because he's trustworthy. That was one situation that's gotten too far. So, I better not hear any people harassing him. Anyway, but, so I found that out and was rightfully furious. Plus, in a different server, he admitted that it was him on an alt and told people not to worry about it. Other staff members, specifically admins and co-owners, also admitted that withPink told him about the ARG with no details ahead of time and told him not to check the server, which was why no one was responding. They didn't check the server at all because they were waiting for withPink to finish. Furthermore, if the information I've been told is correct from asking one of them, an admin named Pink Corruption, who was, not gonna lie, he was an admin at the time, now he's a co-owner, but he is probably the most popular member of the entire server. It is crazy to think about. I don't know if even local has more popularity in the server than he does. But, anyway, I asked Pink Corruption about what happened, and he said that withPink made, I think he said around 7 other alts, but luckily I had exposed what he's done to the server early through the audit logs, and he never got a chance to move to the next phase where he added more. So there was that. Other people had shown screenshots of him admitting to it being an alt of his as well. And a few more things happened. He admitted that he was just trying to have fun and left the server so that he'd instantly lose his staff roles. Almost left permanently, and then came back shortly later after I had a talk with him. He, of course, still didn't get his staff perms back then because that was technically an abuse of power, and it full on animosity for a while. And very shortly after that event, I was promoted to admin. Keep in note that I'm not joking. This was only 8 days after I had first become a trial moderator. Within 8 days, I went from a normal member to an admin, and the period of time to be accepted as a trial mod was like supposed to be around 1 week. It got shortened to 5 days, but it was crazy. At the time, a promotion that fast was pretty unheard of. There were a lot of members who have been moderators for months at a time, or not months, it's not that old, for like a month, and they still didn't get promoted, which I've always been proud of. I went from trial moderator to admin pretty fast, and that's always been a big thing to me. But back on topic, I was promoted for admin very shortly after that, and we continued going along as normal. All the calamities had really started to decrease morale. I'm pretty resistant to things like stress, being tired, etc. They're just kind of things that my more monotone personality kind of just doesn't really express that much. It's not something I deal with that much. But to be honest, a lot of the people in the server were worried because at one point I did end up getting stressed out a bit, which this is, I guess, a little random, but it led to me having a large nosebleed. I'm gonna continue this later. I gotta do something.